Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills and I am joined by Sam Williams.
Hello.
Cal Wing.
Hello.
And Sabus Fitzpatrick.
G'day.
G'day, Bruce.
Today we've got a few things lined up for you. As always, you can get in touch with us on @CookieJarGolf on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. And today we're going to do the second half of the Ryder Cup picks. We're going to look at the US Ryder Cup picks, which we're going to look at a bit later in the show. Obviously, we're filming this or recording this on Monday, the 11th of May. We've just had the announcements here in the UK about the possible easing of golf and what that's going to mean. We're going to have a brief chat over that. And then I think we've got a couple of apologies that need to be made about some certain mistakes that were dropped in the European Cup. Sam?
I mean, so I've got probably two apologies. I seem to have upset our listeners in Germany and Denmark, and partly Austria actually as well last week. So minor correction to the pod. In my sort of haste, I kind of said that Lucas Berggaard is an Austrian golfer. He's not. He's Danish. There's a massive apology there for our listeners in Denmark. I can only kind of attribute that to a red and white flag, and I think just when it was all jumbled up in my spreadsheet, I think I just got a bit flustered in the moment, and for that I am deeply sorry. And Keimer did not sort of stretch away to a massive victory at Whistling Straits. I think even when I said that, I knew that was wrong, and again, big apology there. Obviously, it was the playoff. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. But I'm not on my own. We can all admit we're human. And I think, Bruce, your lack of awareness around Rory Sabatini's cultural heritage, I thought that was some of our listeners have said classless. I don't know if maybe that's a too strong a term. Certainly ill-informed. I don't know if you kind of want to come back on that at all.
There were certainly some questions raised over the preparation document last time.
Yeah, the spreadsheet didn't have the usual care and attention that our listeners have come to expect from such a sort of well-informed podcast host as yourself, Sam. But you can't win them all, and hopefully in this American episode you'll be able to put things right and make it up to your fans.
And for clarity, is that you giving an apology there as well for the Rory Sabatini gaffe, or is that?
I'm not sure I actually made a gaffe about Rory Sabatini. I don't even know if it's.
Seemed to remember you said he was South African.
Well, he was born in South Africa. He's changed his citizenship. But,
I think there's more of a problem that we all settled on the fact he was Czech.
Yeah, we leapt to Czech. We didn't. Yeah, that was another flag issue. I think that was your illiteracy there to recognise the Slovakian flag. But it was simplified.
Oh, sorry, that's it. There, yeah.
Oh,
sorry, that's
Bruce has got an opportunity to pin on someone else now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another howler.
You said he was Czech and he's actually Slovakian, and that I mean, I would never make such a mistake. I'm completely aware of the difference between the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and the distinction between the two countries following the.
You received the same
War.
briefing pack, Mills. Sorry, Bruce. You received the same briefing pack. So, anyway, let's not dwell on the topic. Nonetheless, we are simplified for this week. We are picking players from only one nationality, so that should eliminate scope for that error to happen again. Let's see how we get on.
But before we go on to this, what do we think about the government announcements yesterday here in the UK about outdoor exercise being unlimited? And it looks specifically like golf is back on from Wednesday the 13th.
Yeah, with it certainly is. There've been announcements by both the R&A and I also believe the English Golf Union since Boris's televised address last night. So it seems like we're all ready to go on Wednesday. I guess the only clarification that we need is whether people will be able to play with friends who aren't in the same household, provided they respect the 2 meters of social distance, or whether it's just going to be limited to one balls and people playing together who are from the same household. I guess that's something that will be hopefully clarified in the next couple of days. But all I know is I'm excited to get back out there in whatever format it takes.
And we've got some off-the-record sources that would suggest that two ball golf might be finding its way into play quite soon.
Is that Dominic Raab?
No, it's not from Dominic. Someone slightly lower down in the food chain within ministerial golf. but it is definitely being looked at, and I think there is going to be proposals going back to the government to suggest that, it's actually a safe game to play with another partner, and you can do that through social distancing. So whether that comes through and we see that this week, then for me that would be a bonus. Right now, I'm just looking forward to hitting a full shot.
Well, I think the stuff that came out of the government yesterday was nothing if not supremely clear, considering no one has got an absolute Scooby-Doo what he actually meant. And I think the one ball golf and then Dominic Ryle coming out today and saying that two people can meet in a park, that's cool from any household, as long as they're outdoors, it would suggest that if common sense prevailed, it would be two ball golf and that would be okay. But that just needs to be thrashed out from the upper echelons, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was that unclear. I mean, maybe I have a bit too much sympathy with the position that they're in that it's difficult. It's an unprecedented situation. I think the guidance was clear enough, and it'll be made even more clear in the coming days. And it seems like golf is something that, I mean, they mentioned you can have unlimited outdoor exercise. I think that's a pretty clear endorsement of golf and a few other sports. And there's clearly been discussions with the governing bodies like, the RNA and the EGU. So yeah, hopefully they allow people from different households to play together from Wednesday. But I mean, I guess everyone's just going to be excited to get back out there, whether it's on their own or whether it's with their mates. One thing's for sure is after 7 weeks of not hitting a golf ball, it'll be interesting to see the state of our games.
Jousting.
We're all looking to get out there and getting a 54-hole day in, but Bruce, just promise me you don't go out first tee, otherwise the whole course is going to be...
Well, we can't get 54 holes in, can we? So.
Sorry, I'm these allegations about my slow play coming up yet again, I will not stand for it.
Leave the tripod at home.
Today, we are looking at our USA Ryder Cup selections. Obviously, we finished up last time with a pretty strong European team. We're quite happy with what we chose there.
Do we just recap the team for the benefit of our listeners? So we got Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Lee Westwood, Victor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton, and then Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, Bernd Wiesberger, and Paul Casey. And obviously Sergio was a sort of an 11th hour move from he was beyond the subs bench at that stage, right up into the first draft. So that's the 12. We're thinking about whether or not we play out a virtual Ryder Cup with those players and let our audience vote.
Pretty sure we had two reserves, didn't we? A couple of bench warmers.
Didn't have Colsaerts.
Bob McIntyre and Nicholas Colsaerts, from memory.
Yeah, so I haven't spoke to Bob or Nicholas this week, but
definitely your go-to players.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Bob's sort of.
Some of our listeners did come back and say, Bob. Well, some of our people did come back and said, Bob McIntyre's got to be a shoe-in for the Ryder Cup, and I think
a shoe-in at 60th in the world. Yeah,
we've had lower shoe-ins,
and no, I think Nicholas Colsaerts would take on a good role as sort of water boy, hydration technician, that kind of capacity.
Well,
strong.
And if he needs to get called up to hit a few bombs, then he'd be happy to.
He's a strong VC, isn't he? He's a strong VC.
I had quite a few private messages just saying that. I think a lot of people just agreed and thought it was a good move, sensible. Need some experience in there. Need a bit of distance. So
it was difficult, wasn't it, to whittle it down to 12? How did you guys find the approach for the American picks? I actually found this maybe harder in some respects than the Europe. I thought this was much tougher.
I mean, yeah, you actually look at that lineup. I think the first thing I did was click on the Ryder Cup website and you look at the current standings, and it's just like, how do these guys not win more often? I think it just makes Europe's victories look even better because the names and the rankings are just ridiculous.
The world rankings and the Ryder Cup records tell two very different stories, don't they? And as I'm sure we'll get into it, I mean, there's some world rankings there that are just not backed up in any way by a decent Ryder Cup record. So anyway, do you want to kick it off?
We are going to get into it, aren't we? But I just wonder what is in just broadly across the American team performance. You look at the performance down in Royal Melbourne as well. Winter, that wasn't the most convincing of wins, was it? I mean, on paper, they should have obliterated Southern Hemisphere, really. The international team, rather. And I don't know, is that a symptom of maybe a different type of golf they play from a kind of junior and college level, do you think maybe? Do you think things like foursomes not being a staple of a golfer's diet growing up is maybe partly drives some lack of familiarity in those matches? I don't know.
Might be, yeah. I think it might also just be the American focus on like, the individual and I guess personal sort of goals and personal achievement, and it's very sort of ingrained in the American culture. Maybe I'm just talking out of my arse here, but I think it's very ingrained in the American culture, that idea of like individualism and the individual sort of being the main focus. And maybe that means when you get to these sort of team events, it's hard to sort of switch the mentality a little bit. That's just
my own little theory. You think the Europeans are, invariably the underdogs, and as such they go into the tournament and they have to gel as a team and they have to start bonding and try and get something out of that 13th player as them being a bonded team, rather than the Americans that go into it as 12 absolute guns and just like, we're going to walk this?
There's definitely a bit more grittiness, I'd say, in the Europeans, and it just seems like there's a bit more fight in them. And as you say, because of that team spirit and everything else.
I think the issue in 2018, which hasn't really been discussed much, is that it did come the week after the Tour Championship, and like the sort of jet lag and the kind of travel, the toll it takes, traveling that distance and not really getting much time to sort of acclimatise, added to which the course is fundamentally, or the course at Le Golf National was set up fundamentally different to American courses. I think they all play into it as well. I think it's partly to do with the sort of team culture, but it's certainly not the only factor in explaining why they got trounced.
I'm going to kick this off, I think, with my most controversial pick. Might as well just start there. Because it's controversial, because I haven't picked Tiger Woods.
So he's in mine.
We can edit this.
What? When you mean we can edit it round when we tell Mills that he's completely wrong and that Tiger should 100% be in his side?
I've got stats to back this up.
I'm just not sure that I don't know, when the greatest golfer of all time, who's the current Masters champion, doesn't warrant a Ryder Cup selection for
his performance
as President's Cup
and everything else.
And he's a dream combo partnering with JT, right? That's
okay. Hang on, let me fire then. So, 8 Ryder Cups.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't even got 40% win ratio.
Yeah, we know that.
He does not perform in the Ryder Cup.
Well,
adding to that, he's not played a huge amount. It's not guaranteed he's going to play much more. Tiger Woods doesn't make my team.
Okay, I'd like to just come back on that. Yeah, I think I'd like to come back on that. I'd say the Tiger, since his comeback 2018, seems to be a very different character to the one pre-2008 even. Or even, I guess prior to 2018, the last Ryder Cup he played in was 2012. I think even then, that's a very different Tiger you're looking at. And the one who's emerged in his comeback, it seems to be a lot more open and a lot more sort of team oriented, I think is maybe the right word. He seems to be a lot more encouraging of the younger guys. He's developed closer bonds with a lot of the younger guys. When you look at his relationships with JT and even Koepka and some of the others, compared to how he was, with his contemporaries in the early 2000s, I think that definitely is something to consider when picking him. Added to which, as you say, Sam, he had an unbelievable performance in the President's Cup. Yeah, there are question marks around his fitness, but on home soil where you don't have the issues around jet lag and a condensed schedule, particularly with the coronavirus sort of situation we've got on our hands and looking like things are going to be moved around, I think he could do a lot better than he did in 2018 in Paris. So he's in my team for that reason.
Do you know what his Paris performance was?
Yeah, he lost all 4.
But he was a different golfer. This is the whole thing back to form's temporary, class is permanent. The guy now is playing unbelievable golf again. He's obviously had a difficult spell. We all know about the injuries. We all know about the challenges he's had. But the form he's taking in, I agree with what you're saying, Bruce. The reports back from the President's Cup, the way he brought the team together, he seems like a different character. And I think in that team, he'll be able to help create something for the United States, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, which is probably the biggest issue for United States Ryder Cup golf over the last 20 years, I would say, because it has always been a massive kind of, just take of individuals really kind of with their own agendas.
Too many egos flying around.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one caveat I would put in there is Tiger's in my team, but Phil Mickelson isn't. Obviously, Phil's dropped way down the world rankings, so he might not be a consideration anyway for that reason. But, it's interesting when you look at the records and you look at the fact that I think when Tiger and Phil have been on the same Ryder Cup team, they've only had one win together, and that was in 1999 at Brookline when they turned it around massively on the final day. And I think there is definitely a point to be made about Americans suffering from too many big egos in the team room over the years. But, if you've got Tiger, who's maybe a bit friendlier and more of a team player since he's come back, and then you don't have Phil in there as well, it seems like you're already creating an environment where the team spirit and the morale will be a lot better than it has been previously.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Mickelson was a tough one. He's sort of on the fringe at the moment. He's there with another guy who's just sort of hanging in there at the moment. But where is he? 61 in the world. Thing is, though, I don't know. There's something about him. You'd at least want him in the dressing room. But the big factor is that he clashes with Tiger. And is Tiger going to be that much better with Phil sort of not really there? Potentially, yeah.
I'd look at it more simply, Cal. I don't think Mickelson's golf actually stacks up, so he's not in my side either on form versus... if there was ever a soundbite that could find its way onto a clickbait, we need to talk about clickbait at some point. But his golf doesn't stack up over the last 12 months to warrant a Ryder Cup place with the other 70 golfers that are ahead of him, or 61 golfers that are ahead of him in the world rankings. He's 49 years of age. I think he's overly investing in length in his game, to the detriment of kind of some accuracy and some finesse around the game. And yeah, he's got a blisteringly good short game, and he's a bloody good match play golfer because the guy can just get up and down from anywhere. But I'm not convinced that his golf warrants a Ryder Cup pick. I know you guys laugh at that, but that's ultimately what you're saying. If Phil was top 10 in the world, you'd be saying he's good enough for the team.
So my reason was because you look at the team or potential team, you look at those sort of top 40 players in the world that they've got there, and it's a phenomenal lineup. And you think, is Mickelson, he's approaching 50, does he still fit in with everything else that's going on? I mean, I guess you could argue Tiger's age as well, but Tiger's Tiger, so I think he's going to find his way in. But yeah, Mickelson is a really tough one.
He turns 50 in July, I think. He'll be over 50 come Ryder Cup. Not to mention he's outside the world top 50.
Did anyone pick Phil?
I didn't pick Phil, no. But I do,
I've left
just
him,
to maybe retrace the steps slightly.
He's on the fringe, so he's not quite in yet for me.
I do think it's worth flagging Tiger's record, as you said, though, Tom, and it is dreadful. Like 13 wins, 21 losses, 3 halves. You've just got to try and, look at it through the lens of he's playing better golf now. He is more of a team player than he was, and just on the basis of his President's Cup performance, he's someone who I would pick over Phil Mickelson.
I just think Tiger, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I get it. But I don't think he packs that intimidation punch that he maybe did 10 years ago even. I don't think people are getting on the tee and like bricking it. So unless his form is absolutely firing, I don't think, for me, I've got other people I'd rather put in the team, like bloody youngsters.
He is just better than like the vast majority of people on the... Well, he's the best iron player in the world. Like even McIlroy and Rahm admit that from TaylorMade commercials that they shoot whenever they've got to do shot shaping or iron play sort of games. They just say he is the best iron player in the world. And he'd probably be the number 1 player in the world if he could play a full schedule. I just don't see how you can't pick him.
Well, maybe this goes full circle then. So look, it sounds like Mickelson's struggling for a pick here. So notwithstanding he's got the all-time point scorer of the current kind of batch of players that we're looking at with 21.5 points in Ryder Cup history. His golf doesn't stack up, but Tiger's got 3 picks. Who knows? Maybe this goes full circle and we end up having to kind of come around and start picking him. There's another player in Phil's peer group around world rankings, one ahead. I'd be interested to know where people got to on Jordan Spieth for a pick. Now,
Didn't make it.
Didn't make it, no?
No, I get it was just so competitive. You look at that list and you just think, do you go with a couple of the sort of rookies that are in form and really, really up there in the rankings? And it's so hard. I'm a big Spieth fan, but I just don't think he's had. I think his last 18 months are just really make it questionable. Really tough.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't pick him. I think, his career could really, or his current trajectory could go one or two ways when we come out of the lockdown and they start playing PGA Tour events again. I think he could either, he might use this time to figure out the things in his swing that are plaguing him, and he might just return to be the Jordan Spieth of old and go on an absolute tear like he did in 2015 or 2017, or he might just struggle and slide yet further down the world rankings. I think, you can never rule it out with a guy who has won 3 majors already and racked up so many PGA Tour wins. I think, it's quite an extreme fall from grace that he's had since 2017, but it could be a really good rebirth after the coronavirus. So on the basis of that, I couldn't really pick him, but I wouldn't rule him out equally.
Insanely, he's 26 years of age. I mean, and you think, actually, because he's been around at that top level for so long, you kind of automatically think he's a lot older, and you think that maybe this is, but actually I kind of see it as maybe Jordan's just going through one of those kind of one step back moments and a bit of a readjustment. And, I've even seen interviews where he said, I'm quite relaxed. My career doesn't properly start until I'm 30 anyway. So all this is kind of just giving me a head start. So same, he's not picked, but for me, it wasn't a straight dismissal, but again, kind of echoing your guys' comments.
I mean, McIlroy had a rank 2013, didn't he? And then he went on and, won 2 majors, 3 events in a row the following year. So, who knows?
I presume we must have some unanimous picks across here. So should we go for the easy ones?
Let's dial in on a Brooks Koepka.
Oh, again though, I think there's question marks there. I think
he's Koepka's a shooter.
What?
I do. I honestly do.
3. You can't leave 3 in the world.
Glue, Bruce.
Well, look. Okay, there are question marks around his fitness. After he had his knee surgery, obviously he missed the President's Cup. In the 5 events that he's played since he came back from the knee surgery, he finished tied 34th in the Abu Dhabi event, tied 17th at the Saudi event, which is quite a weak field actually by the sort of usual standards he's used to playing. Tied for 43rd at the Genesis, missed cut at the Honda, then tied 47th at the Arnold Palmer. I think looks like he's struggling. Like those 5 events, he's not played at all well. I wouldn't rule out him struggling with his game a little bit. So I think it's a question mark there.
Shots fired today.
It's enormous.
Wow. Punching.
No, he's a big game player. I think you want him in. Yeah, he's literally just a unit. Intimidating, good chat. His game will turn up for that, no doubt. I have no doubt.
He scares the life out of me just watching him prowl
3
around
in the
golf
world.
course.
Can't leave 3 in the world out.
I have put him in my team. I just think there's massive question marks.
I know what you're saying. But yeah, you got him in the team, so that's good.
He's got a solid Ryder Cup performance as well, hasn't he? He's got some pretty decent numbers there. I think if you look at, he's played in 2, 8 matches, 4.5. That 56% win percentage is actually above par for the USA side. Like you say, Cal, big game player. He brings the heat when it's
exactly.
pressure on.
When you've got to face that shot at the top of your backswing and you can't turn hard enough through your left knee, are you going to be struggling to hit it on the planet? Is the only question mark
now
I have.
Just kind of reflecting back on France, obviously Le Golf National, bit of altercation relating to Brooks, if I remember right.
Yeah, with DJ.
Yeah, where did he come in your picks?
So he's in. Another
DJ's
show.
in.
Yeah, no doubt.
Not paired together?
To be honest, I think that's just press blowing it up.
I think he was.
I mean,
blown
these
out.
guys, they
It's like Rick Shields clickbait.
I think they share the same trainer. They practice together. They're good mates. They both come out and said that. I just think that's. I think it was blown out of proportion.
I suspect
They probably had a
teacup.
They probably had a couple of Bud Lights and shit happens.
Okay, he is a shoe-in. The next shoe-in, I think. What are we thinking about the shovel?
Yeah, I mean, you have to.
He's in
as
mine.
distasteful as as we all find him as a character.
Controversial as it is, he's 7 in the world.
He's in, isn't he?
Like the guy's got a 58%
Captain America,
win ratio.
Yeah.
He's got
He's got to be in, isn't he?
Higher, 67% win ratios, 12 matches, 8 points. Three Ryder Cups though. Actually, kind of got a bit of experience in that side as well. And for all of his faults, the guy is a gritty competitor. That match against McIlroy, you kind of, he's too good to leave out. He is a pantomime villain, but
I think it's safe to say he'll do anything to win. Someone we have been a huge fan of over the last 20 odd podcasts, Patrick Cantlay.
See, he's in for me. Number 8 in the world. He'll be a rookie. So
highest rookie.
He's been on great form. He's done the Walker Cup. He's done a couple of team events. Played very well in the President's Cup.
Got like 64, didn't he, in his singles match? I think something stupid.
It's guys like that who
Melbourne.
you think you've got to leave Mickelson out to sort of start to blood the likes of Cantlay.
Yeah,
Just
he's
too
in
good.
my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good rookies.
You look at the rookies on here, and it's mind-boggling how good they are. A European side, granted, has Hovland, and I know we laugh about the rookie selection stuff from last week for Europe, but you look at the names I've got down here for rookie selection, it's just obscene.
Okay, so let's dial down to the furthest you went down for a rookie.
36th in the world. Kevin Kisner.
I went 83.
Ooh.
I went to 44, Colin Morikawa.
Yeah, so I've gone slightly left field at 110.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've gone for the
that-
same reason though.
Have you gone with Matthew Wolff, Sam?
Yes, I have, Bruce.
I just think
Right, hang on. Let me qualify
This is an Instagram. This is just a classic Instagram sort of pundits pick. Someone who's been watching too much of George Ganker's golf videos. He's buying into all the emojis that accompany Matt Wolff swings, sees that he's teeing it up in the TaylorMade thing later this week, and just says, yeah, he's going to be brilliant. He's 110th in the world, mate. He's 110th in the world.
So
the only thing that's more ridiculous than that call is Colsart last week.
Right, well, hang on. When Bruce is off his
Colsaerts make more
soapbox on
sense.
this
At least
one,
he's played it right again.
that's BS. Cole Sarts hasn't won a. I've done it again here, hasn't he? He hasn't won a PGA event yet, Matthew Wolff. But
He won the 3M.
has.
Yeah,
he did win
has,
it.
yeah.
He did win one, didn't he? So
That's another apology coming next week.
right. So the thing with Wolff, and the reason he's in the pick is because I think we're going to get to it, but I think Colin Morikawa is going to also be in the pick. These guys have all played in and around that circuit at a similar time. I think he's fairly fresh in his professional days. He will have played quite a heavy amount in terms of match play. I mean, Cal's shaking his head at me. Am I the only one here who's got
Just
Matthew Wolff in the
too,
pick?
I think too early
Yeah,
on.
and I think it's an absurd claim.
and the competition is just too good for them to be considered yet.
I mean, I haven't got a good enough counter argument. other than the fact the guy looks obscenely talented. And yeah, you know what? I'll have it. Maybe I'm buying in. Maybe I'm buying into too much of the Matthew Wolff hype around him.
He's got a great presence on Instagram, and he's got a pretty funky swing. But I just don't think that those are legitimate reasons to
No.
pick him ahead of some of the other players there.
Let's climb up the ladder to number 36 in the world, Kevin Kisner. I mean, world match play champion. Had a very good President's Cup. That would have been 2017. Sadly, didn't get picked. Just missed out on a pick for the President's Cup last year. Great team player. A lot of people were just baffled when he didn't get a little pick for the President's Cup, and even even the Ryder Cup in 2018. But for me, I think he deserves a little kick in, definitely.
I could be persuaded on Kisner potentially, just because of his, how
Kisner is in
he
my
as a
team.
match
I've
play.
picked Kisner.
He's in mine. Is he in yours, Bruce?
He's not at the moment, although I've got someone in there who I think is quite a controversial pick and does need some serious discussion. And I'd be prepared to maybe sacrifice Ricky Fowler on the altar for
ceremonially on the altar.
Yeah. Well, what do we think about Fowler? I don't mean
With
to
an A
just
sign above, sort of like
change it. Yeah.
So I've got Fowler in.
Yeah, so
Have
Ricky's
you?
in mine.
Right,
But let's
okay.
not just hang up the debate yet on Kiers. I think
Okay.
it's one of the most. I think it might be controversial in so much as he's a little bit down the rankings, but I think it's one of the most obvious picks. The guy's an out and out solid match play golfer.
The oldest rookie. He's in my team.
He's just not a ball striker, is he? He's just not someone who rips it a long way.
He's not a huge driver, but he's a hell of a putter. Great short game, and he's an out and out jouster. Like match play is what he lives for.
Team stuff. Yeah, I mean, even the team thing, he teams up with Scott Brown and all of that. I think they came runner-up. That's another little team event. I think he came runner-up in that one.
Was that the Aiken sort of
That's
forces?
the Aiken, the Aiken Bash brothers. Exactly.
Okay.
I tell you what about having a shorter hitter in match play, especially someone who's such a good iron player as Kiz, is that if you're always hitting first, you can put so much pressure on your opponent by jamming it in there tight every time.
Definitely.
That's a good point.
I'm just not sure that's how he plays, though. Like, I don't know if the stats, like, where is he strokes gained, approach the green? I'm not sure he's someone who's jamming in.
Yeah.
More
of a
He's world match play champion. He knows how to play match play.
I think it's a fair observation. Your upper hand. Who was it? Was it Ben Hogan, Bobby Jones, who consciously laid up short?
Bobby Jones, yeah.
Laid up short of their opponent's drive, so then get the honour with the approach. Bit of truth in it. The guy's a good match play golfer, and for me, in a team that doesn't prove it's, always performs underweight versus what it should do on paper, in these big match play events, why would you not go towards a golfer who's got experience, who's a solid match player? God, it just makes so much common sense to me.
Fair. I'll bow down to consensus on that.
But you haven't got to offer Ricky up on the altar just yet, I don't think. I know you were maybe quick to put him down.
Yeah,
but...
okay. So Fowler's an interesting
tough.
one. Because for me, I don't know what you guys think about this, but Fowler just screams awesome team player, like brilliant personality, just someone who you would imagine just lifts the atmosphere. But then I had a bit of digging and did a bit of digging rather and looked at his record, and it's awful. I mean, it's 3 wins, 7 losses, 5 halves. That's 20%, win ratio. I don't know what the point ratio is there, or point percentage is there, Sam. You might want to clarify that one. But it's just a very poor record, isn't it, for someone who it has been a stalwart on the PGA Tour and seems like such a brilliant personality for it as well. I was just pretty surprised by that.
8 years is a long time to play Ryder Cup golf for, and pull in 5.5 points in that time, isn't it? For someone of his caliber.
The thing with Ricky, I think he's never performed, never really achieved on the biggest stage, and perhaps he's never won a major when he should have, and perhaps the Ryder Cup comes in and all that pressure that he's never quite accomplished, never quite got over the line in the biggest stage. That perhaps, it gets to him on the day and he doesn't perform. I mean, I love Rick. I'm a big Ricky fan, but 37% percentage isn't great.
He's in my team. He's a kind of he's a little bit hot and cold, isn't he? He can go streaky good. Like he can have a day where he goes lights out low and no one can keep up with him, and he can have very, very mediocre days. On balance, I think the fact that there's some, like you say, Bruce, there's a bit around his character. His character. He seems like a really big team player, really good pals with a number of the people that are going to be in that team. And partly it's like, I don't know, when you get the multiple sort of reds coming in on the roulette wheel, you feel like he's going to have a decent Ryder Cup eventually. Like how long you can't have 5 poor Ryder Cup showings. You just someone of his quality, but might be wrong.
27th in the rankings at the moment, so
yeah.
He's in. And the obvious guy we haven't mentioned, who I suspect will be an absolute shoe-in and probably a natural partner for Ricky, Justin Thomas.
What's his partner, surely?
I put him with Woods, yeah.
I have him in Woods, definitely.
Yeah, but he's very close with Ricky. I mean, but he's good mates with Tiger. So either way, he's in the team.
Yeah.
What is it with Tiger and JT? Other than the fact that Tiger loves him, is it proximity and where they play a bit of golf in Florida or something, or what is it?
Might be. Don't know, mate. You'll have
I think
to
they're just like
get him on the pod to find out.
We'll drop a note.
Okay, so just to clarify, we got Justin Thomas, DJ, Brooks, Patrick Reed, Tiger, Cantlay.
Hold on, I haven't conceded Tiger yet. I'm still fighting.
Okay,
that.
but you're
3 to
locking the
1.
vote,
3
so
to 1,
it's a democracy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
there's a whole column of 3 to
So the
1s. That's how we
unanimous
do
ones
this.
are Brooks, JT, DJ, Patrick Reed, Patrick Cantlay. Kisner was a unanimous as well. Matthew Wolf wasn't. That wasn't unanimous. And it sounds like Ricky on debate has come through, although he sits in the 3.
No, I haven't put Ricky through.
So it's
I chose Xander instead. Xander Schauffele.
yeah, Xander's in mine.
Yeah, he's in mine.
He's in mine.
Okay,
So he's
so
just
Xander's
solid,
a
isn't he?
shoe-in.
Again, like
You jog my memory. Did he played in the 2018 Ryder Cup, right?
No, he's a rookie.
No, he's
Is
rookie.
he
Yeah.
rookie? Fuck. That's crazy.
Played in the
isn't it?
President's Cup. He got overlooked for a captain's
Seems like
pick.
he's been around
Yeah.
for a while.
But look at him. It's his first showing representing the United States. Yeah, so he picked up 3 points down in Australia, didn't he? You know, he Xander showed
and
that.
he's
Obvious
just
pick.
contending at majors as well, week in, week out, isn't he? Like, you know, he's had so many great top sort of like top 10, top 5 finishes in majors and the big events, as well as winning big ones as well. So
Exactly.
yeah, he's in my team. What do we all think about Finau?
He made my
He's in mine.
Yeah, he's in mine. So have we all got Finau?
Yeah, there's some good consensus
Yeah.
emerging here, actually.
Which, even though he's got a horrendous record of actually winning tournaments, he on a fairly slim judge of performance in France. He had a pretty good turnout there in what was a pretty difficult week for the rest of the team. I really like the guy.
Yeah, he's
Very
good.
like
I
him.
think the wins will start happening. He's up there too often. So, but
He's
I've
got a
got
little bit of
quite.
arrogance to him as well that sometimes comes out, which is probably what you need to perform, in a
Exactly.
hostile environment like the Ryder Cup.
I think the next one is quite interesting. He sits in the top 10 in the world.
We're talking about Webb.
Comfortably in mine, yeah, number 9, 9th in the world, Webb Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be.
No, he didn't make mine.
On his current
He didn't
form.
make yours. What?
No.
What is this logic that's coming through
I don't
here?
know,
Like,
because I know
we're
on
not
paper.
picking Webb Simpson, but we're going to pick Kevin Kisner just because we've played at the club
Matthew
that he is his home club, and they play the same games. Like, they're not bombers, they're not absolute ball strikers. Webb
You
just
can't
chips
not have him in the
and
team.
knocks it
So
closer
good.
than Kevin Kisner. So how could you not pick Webb if you're picking Kisner?
I think he's like one of
Yeah.
the best putters in the world at the moment as well. He's on a
He's nuts.
tidy little run.
Guys won a Players and a US Open, and he's top 10 in the world. Like,
Yeah, several
All
Ryder
these
Cups
stuff.
under his belt.
yeah, beat Justin Rose.
Did you pick him, Sam?
Paris.
Yeah,
I
gritty
did
player.
not pick Webb.
Unreal.
No,
No, I didn't pick him.
Shit.
and
We're gonna. Well, he's.
and look,
There's no way he's not
Yeah.
a no. So we're going to come back to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, they get debated, don't they?
Sam's just analysing his credibility with the listeners at the minute.
I sort of lost myself in thought. I don't know whether I'm going to be off the pod. I don't know. Maybe this is my swan song, but I just, for all the reasons, he's not everyone. When you say he's a top 10 golfer, not everyone knows who he is straight away. For the same reason, I've kind of looked past him, not because I don't recognise the guy as a first-class golfer, but simply because there's others more exotic names, more shiny bits of tinfoil on the roof, like Matthew Wolf, I wanted to go and chase down. And, this pod is not just about me apologising, but I just don't think it's as an exciting a Ryder Cup as having Webb Simpson in. But
Okay, I'm gonna throw one out there. You talk about Webb Simpson being the best putter. I've actually gone for a better putter, and has got a better
Brian
win
Gay or
percentage.
someone.
I know where you're going with this.
I've gone for Brandt Snedeker.
Oh God.
48 in the world. I've gone for Brandt Snedeker.
Brandt Snedeker over
I
Webb
can
Simpson.
literally only put this down to pure European partisanship from you, Tom, and you, Sam. Just saying, like,
I'm not guilty of that.
let's just try and give the European team
Is
some sort of
Brandt?
setup that they
Am
can
I the only one
steamroll.
with Brandt?
You
Unreal.
are the only one with
As,
Snedeker in.
as Bruce said last week, any credibility we had, it's just gone out the window.
Okay, Sneds has gone in the one pile.
Okay, well,
I'll
I
leave
don't
that
think
over
we've
there.
mentioned the old big boy, DeChambeau, yet, have we?
Yeah,
13th in the world. Got to be in. He's in mine.
I see him as a bit of a square peg in the round hole. So when I looked at the team, you're all smirking at me some poor observations so far in this podcast. However, I did look at it and think he looks like a bit of a square peg in the round hole with this team. I don't see him gelling with the guys in the same way that we're talking about people like Ricky and Kisner and Brooks and people like that and how they all get along as a team. I didn't see the same thing in Bryson's. And equally on its golf on a standalone basis, I wouldn't said it's like head and shoulders above everyone else's to warrant a pick in the top 12. Now, that feels like a fairly sensible argument to me.
I didn't pick him. Played one Ryder Cup, 0-3.
I don't know. He's a great guy to have in the middle of the pack for me.
It's just who do you pair him with? Who do you pair him with?
Such a competitor there.
It's interesting. He was played once by Tiger in the President's Cup at Royal Melbourne, which is strange, isn't it? I mean, he literally got a run out in the day 1 4-ball, and then he didn't play again until the singles. And you've got to question why that is.
See, for me, there's quite I think there's an obvious pick. There's an obvious pick that we haven't mentioned yet, who I think would pair quite well with DeChambeau. Matt Kuchar.
Oh, I mean, he's not in my team. And
17 in the world.
It's just a story of unpalatable characters, this picking.
Yeah, but I think they're both on their
I know
own
which dressing room I'd want to be
wavelength.
in.
They're on the niche wavelength. I think those two might actually, if possible, be able to feed off each other.
In some sort of sick way, yeah.
And strikes me, I think they're mates. So I don't think they
You
offend
said
each other.
that like it's come out of left field. They're mates on what basis? Just the fact
No,
they're both on,
you see enough
They
coverage.
just try and one up one another on who can be the most offensive.
They're both doing the sort of, geeky fist bumps together and all of that. And you think, yeah, they're not going to offend each other.
How many picks we got for Cooch?
So has anyone else got Kuchar?
no.
No.
Yeah. Sam's just thinking Cooch's golf swing's wasting away in the lockdown.
Bruce, have you got Kuchar?
I don't have Kuchar actually. Is it just Cal then
Okay,
who's got
so
Kuchar?
Okay.
Cooch is
I mean,
41. Cooch is 41. He's had a fairly long layoff now without competitive golf. I would say re-entering competitive golf's a bit easier at the age of 31 than it is at 41.
I'll tell you who I put in instead of Kuchar. Gary Woodland.
Yeah, he's in mine. Yeah.
What? US Open?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? You haven't picked him.
very tough one to leave out in my team, that was.
You are. Okay.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, you guys have got him. So, yeah, well, you can have him.
Cal, what was your reason for not picking him?
Well, no,
Because
hang on.
maybe
We're 50-50 on that. We're 50-50 on that. So
It
he's
was
not-
just, again, it was just so hard. And I, to be honest, I just saw a bit more experience in the team than Gary Woodland. But that's really tough to say because he's won the US Open. And, I think he had a pretty good President's Cup, right? So I think wasn't he a last minute pick in the President's Cup or something like that?
So was he a stand-in, I think, for Brooks's injury?
Yeah.
No, that was Fowler. That was Fowler.
Was it?
Yeah, I think he might have been
I
like
think
last
Gary was
pick or
picked.
something. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know.
He did get played by Woods. He just had a pretty poor President's Cup actually. Like he lost day 1 4-ball. Yeah, I mean he got steamrolled by Sung Jae Im. But then again, Sung Jae Im's absolute, ball striker and just playing so well at the moment, so you can't really blame him for that. Yeah,
well, I think it can, because I think he's, if you're pairing him up against other world-class players that we've put in the European side, people like Rory Brahm, Fleetwood Rose, Lowry Hatton, etc., then he needs to be capable of, you can't say, well, you lost to Sanjay, but, anyone can lose to
Where is he in the world?
He
18.
It's fine. I mean, yeah, I'm gone. He was really tough. He was right on the line for me, so I've got no. I think we can get him in. Put it this way: he's got more of a chance than Morikawa and Wolf and Snedeker.
Okay, well, Morikawa is a good one. We need to talk to Morikawa.
So, Bruce, you kind of called it before the pod saying, I bet you've done something stupid like pick Colin Morikawa.
I mean, I have as well, so I'm guilty as
I've
charged.
picked him.
Yeah.
Okay. Cal, is he on your side?
Who?
Morikawa.
No.
Explain yourself, Cal.
I didn't even consider him, to be honest. He was nowhere near the team.
So
He's a great talent, but he's just not there yet for me.
Boring old wing here, just doing the picks on world ranking alone. Cal's just looked down the OWGR and thought, yeah, we'll go with the top American
Is
players.
44 in the world better than 204?
Oh, yeah, it's a different team. It's talking about USA here.
Mate, he's solid.
Yeah, but,
He's in
you
our three
but
pile.
you look at that American lineup, and they've got so many good players. It's like, where the hell do you fit Morikawa into there?
I think, he's been the steadiest out of all the rookies.
If you want to be putting Gary Woodland in, you can't be putting both of them in. So,
Jumping back into this, I did pick as my biggest outlier Cameron Champ. 83.
Do you know what's
I know it's a
appalling?
waste. I wanted to discuss it.
What's appalling is, with the exception of Kisner in the top 5 world ranked players, Tom and Sam have literally just picked people based on driving distance, haven't they? And their presence on social media. This is just an appalling indictment of the Cookie Jar Golf podcast. Isn't
I know
it?
Sam's still got one more up his sleeve, definitely. It'd be like Adam Long or someone like that.
I dropped that.
What's his name? Jason Kokrak, or he's the other one. No, he's the Andrew Lee.
Brendan Todd was skirting on the peripheries for me at one point. Adam Long is not
Harold Varner III.
Adam Long is not the daft pick that you all think. He can go super, super low. Adam Long can all of a sudden just turn up in the top 5 of a major leaderboard. Now, I don't think that's warranted.
And then back it up with an 86 the next day. Or something.
And for that reason, I've left him out, Bruce. But he's got the game. on a good day, he's got the game. I know he's got the firepower. So that,
Duffner, Keegan Bradley,
Okay.
any more?
Okay,
Yeah.
just bear with me. Where we've got so far is we've picked pretty much everyone that we're going to pick. So we need to mention the honorary mentions that we haven't even discussed, which is probably shocking. We've got Kevin Na, Billy Horschel, Ches Reavy, Scotty Scheffler, and we've all picked people below them. So, okay, so we've got 9 shoo-ins in our team that all 4 of us have picked. We've got Brooks, DJ, Patricks, Reed and Cantley, Kisner, JT, Xander, Tony Finau, Tiger Woods, and we got one vote with 3, which is Colin Morikawa. So I think he's pretty much got to be a shoo-in if he's the only person that had 3 votes.
So that means
makes
we've got
10.
2 spaces spare.
We've got 2 spaces, and there are 4 people with 2 votes. That's Ricky Fowler, Webb Simpson, Matt Kuchar, and Gary Woodland.
Webb's a
people that are
shoo-in.
going to be immediately kicked off: Matt Wolff, Sneds, Bryson DeChambeau, 10th in the world, Phil and Spieth. So we need Ricky, Webb, Kuchar, and Gary.
I mean,
So we're back
Chambo's
to,
bold,
so we're
isn't it?
back to the Sergio thing here, aren't we? Of in our haste, we've put Colin Morikawa in here, and now we're able to take 2 forward from Ricky, Webb, Cooch, and Woodland. I mean, it is, I suppose. Maybe
It was
we've
down
got-
to 3, isn't it, out of those 4?
I think
Woodland's gone.
I think Webb has got to go in, hasn't he?
Number 9 in the world, he's in.
Yeah.
Webb has got to go in.
Webb's in.
Webb's in.
Sam can apologise next week to the listeners.
Ricky Fowler, Kuchar, Woodland for 1 spot. Do we
Fowler.
think about chopping someone from our team? Is that what we're going to think about doing?
Well, it's a
Morikawa.
question as whether Cal's really out to get Morikawa. I don't know what he's got. Every 5 minutes, all I've seen from Cal is just going, Morikawa's got to
Honestly,
go.
I'd rather Matthew Wolff go in over Morikawa.
Right, well, that's wrong. You go.
Well, exactly. So Morikawa's wrong.
Your argument was doing so
Morikawa's
well
out.
until that point.
I'm not averse to dropping someone here, but I would not want to see Cooch go in that team. If someone said to me, who out those top 3, Ricky, Webb, Woodland, and Cooch, would you want to go through? Cooch would be bottom of my list.
We've already put Webb
Yeah.
through, though, haven't we? We've agreed on Webb.
Webb's in.
We've agreed Webb's in, so then,
Ricky's obvious.
yeah.
If Colin Morikawa gets in, we've got 4 rookies. Do we want to keep that? Is it too many rookies?
Can never have enough rookies, in my opinion.
Because we could shoot out Morikawa, and then we've got 2 out of Ricky, Kuchar, and Woodland. Or we need to make the tough decision of 1 out of Ricky, Kuchar, and Woodland.
Well, there's no tough decision if you just get rid of Kuchar, because that in itself is not a tough decision, is it? Matt Kuchar's out.
I think dropping Kuchar is a really simple decision to me. The difficult decision is, do you drop Morikawa to then bring in what is almost certainly going to be a Woodland, not a Ricky, because Kuchar we've agreed is gone, Webb's in, and then it's Ricky and Woodland. I would have dropped. Okay. That's the question. Would you drop Morikawa to put Woodland in? This is what the team.
So what are we saying? Ricky's in, full stop.
That's what I think, and that's what Cal thinks, and I don't want to speak for Bruce, but that's what he thinks.
I'm a bit perturbed by Fowler's points record, I've got to be honest. But yeah, I'll happily. I think, as you put it well earlier, Sam, when you said he's had a couple of bad Ryder Cups, so he's definitely due a good one. I think that's fair enough reasoning. So I'd happily bend the knee to let Fowler in the team.
So we've got 12.
So do we? The final nail into this coffin is going to be: we have 12 names on our sheet. We need to decide once and for all whether Morikawa is penned in, or do we drop him for Gary Woodland, who's won a major this year or last year?
I think you got to look at it. What does Woodland give you? I think if Woodland brought in any more than 2.5 points, you'd probably say that was a pretty good performance for him. Can Morikawa do that based on some of the lineup he's got with getting on the right side of the draw? I would say quite easily. And also, I think it starts to get him into that Ryder Cup space a bit earlier. So personally, I really rate Morikawa. It's a very difficult decision. What do you guys think?
If it's between him and Woodland, then Woodland's the obvious shout.
I think Woodland.
I would go with Morikawa. He's played Walker Cup. He's played Palmer Cup. I think he's even played Eisenhower Trophy. I think he's got some good sort of past experiences with teams. He's a really dynamic, exciting young player who could maybe match up real well with Hovland in a singles contest. That's something that we'd probably love to see as viewers, wouldn't we, come September? So I'm going to stick with Morikawa in my team, if that's all right.
There is an argument for us, Cal, to say that. I mean, Woodland's 35. It might be worth for the American team. Just get him in, blood him.
You do forget he's actually getting on a bit, isn't he?
35.
I think the right call. Yeah, it's 35. I think the right call is Morikawa, 23.
Blood him.
Give him some blood.
Boom.
So we have arrived at the cookie jar 12.
So that's it. We've got there 12 picks. Brooks, DJ, Patrick Reed, Patrick Hantley, Kisner, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, Tony Finau, Colin Morikawa, Tiger Woods, Webb, and Ricky Fowler.
It'll be interesting to see what our listeners think.
As always, get in touch with your thoughts, comments about Sam's Hail Marys and any other massive faux pas that we've made.
It's not about being factually accurate. It's about being entertaining.
Indeed.
Hope you all enjoyed. Maybe see you next time. Maybe not. As always, get in touch at Cookie Jar Golf, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And until then, see you next time.
Adios.
Thank you.
Go low. Actually, go low on Wednesday now that the restrictions have been lifted.